The setting is the 1920s, and during this time, the mark of greed and carnage that is left on the streets by gang violence is unprecedented. Since the outlawing of alcohol consumption by the 18th Amendment in 1919, gang control of bootlegging and gambling was at an all-time high, and morality and civility was at an all-time low. Any and all alcoholic beverages were now made illegal, and for the men who actively broke the law, this, to them, meant big business. A wave of organized crime had swept the nation, and so an era of mass murder and corruption was born, and no city in all of America harbored more gang violence than Chicago, Illinois. During the era of Prohibition, this once tame, undisturbed city had become a haven of organized crime, and no city in all of America harbored more gang violence than Chicago, Illinois. During the era of Prohibition, this once tame and undisturbed city had become a haven of organized crime. As soon as the early years of the Roaring Twenties, the city had amassed over 7,000 drinking parlors, or speakeasies as they were known as during the time. Derived from how the way in which you would enter these parlors was by whispering secret code words at the entrance. Chicago had truly become a gangster's paradise. The city was even divided in two by rival gangs that sought control over the city's established underground economy. These gangs were named after the area of the city that they controlled, and they were known as the South Side Gang and the North Side Gang. The Irish-based rival gang on the north side was headed by mobster George Bugs Moran, a threatening man who had been arrested and jailed a total of 3 times before he turned 21. He took over as leader of the North Side Gang after the death of Dean O'Banion and 2 other North Side Gang leaders, and was even said to have popularized drive-by shootings. On the other end, the mostly Italian South Side Gang was led by none other than the man himself, Al Capone. Alphonse Gabriel Capone was arguably the most prevalent mafia figure in America's history, as he was a gang member for life even as a young boy. He was mentored in the ways of racketeering by yet another legendary gangster, Johnny Torrio, who led him to Chicago, where he would soon become the monarch of all organized crime after Torrio stepped down as head of the South Side Gang. Both of these powerful and notorious men realized the opportunity Chicago had put in front of them, and they knew that through brute force and shady business, there was a lot of money to be made. In fact, it was estimated that by 1929, Al Capone's Southside Brewery operation was worth over $60 million a year, and yet he only ruled over half of the city. Initially, the two groups intended to do business on their own territories and deal with each other peacefully. However, this conflict between gangs was no healthy rivalry, as the profits to be made from bootlegging alcohol grew. So did their greed, and so did a number of shootings between the two gangs. To make matters worse, the man who acted as a mediator for the two gangs, Mike Merlo, had abruptly died of cancer in 1924, and so died any ideas of peace within Chicago. From then on, instead of using orthodox means of diplomacy, Capone and Moran let bullets do their talking, with hordes of gang members strutting through the streets in Chicago as well as the rest of the country. It comes as no surprise that there were a reported 12,000 murders caused by gang violence each year. Eventually, this gang violence reached a fierce climax on February 14th of the year 1929, the bloodiest Valentine's Day in history. And in late 1928, Capone visited an old friend in Chicago Heights to mourn the death of his close friend who had recently been killed by the Northside Gang, Tony Lombardo. That day, Al Capone had planned to finally get his revenge on Bugs Moran.
Yeah, long time no see, Vinny.
Hey Al, how's it going? Come on in so we can catch up. Jesus, Al, we ain't talked in forever. What's on your mind?
Vinny, you're one of my best friends, so I knew I could come talk to you about some business affairs.
Ah, you and your business. Alright. What can I do for you?
Well, of course you hear about old Tony Lombardo's murder, right?
Yeah, I heard he kicked the bucket a couple months back, those damn Northside goons.
Yeah, those clowns shot him up right in a restaurant up on busy Madison Street. Didn't even see it coming. Well, anyways, Vinny, you know that SMC Cottage Company on North Clock Street?
Yeah, I know the one. With the big sign and the blacked out windows?
That's right. And that dive on North Clock Street, and this sanctioned his whole base of operations. Why, that wise guy, I tell ya. Clown thinks he's the bee's knees nowadays, wearing his tailor-made suits and riding around his breather with the roof top down, like he's taunting us. And with this information, if we're ever gonna get them back for what they did to Tony, it'll be here.
Now you're talking, so what's the plan?
Simple. What we'll do, see, is we'll get a guy to give him an offer they can't refuse. We'll tell him that a hijacker got his grubby mitts on some of my top flight booze and is willing to sell them to him at a low price. We'll take down the whole lot of the Northside gang by bumping off Moran and some of his closest men. We'll have our guys move in across the street and serve at the block for maybe 3 weeks. Then we'll lead them in the garage of the SMC company, and then BAM! They get cut down.
I like your thinking now, but I see one problem. See, do you really think we can just barge in there like we did with the O'Banion and then them other guys and cut them down again? They ain't gonna fall for that another time.
You're right. Damn, how are we gonna get them guys in there without them getting shot up?
I don't know, Al. I mean, we gotta be careful. We can't just go barging in there anymore. I mean, hell, last time we did, the feds almost got IDs our guys.
Wait, Vinny, say that again.
What, about the feds almost IDing our guys and...
That's how we're gonna get our guys in there. We'll dress them up all real like feds, and they'll be thinking it'll just take a routine bribe to get them off their backs. And then we'll just pin them up against the wall, and then they'll get what's coming to them.
Ah, you're a genius.
As good as done. We'll have this Valentine's Day go down in history as the day Bugs Moran bit the dust. From that day on, he'll be sleeping with the fish.
And so, Capone's plan was set in motion. He fully intended to take out his opposition in one foul swoop. The Southside gang was to hire 2 gunmen unfamiliar to any gang from Chicago. Little is known about these 2 men besides the fact that they were compensated with about $10,000 to carry out their task, and that they were armed with highly dangerous Thompson submachine guns. This surprisingly lethal and surprisingly compact firearm quickly became the most popular method of killing by gangsters in the Roaring '20s, as it was a concealable, took little skill to use, and packed a heavy punch. And just as Capone and his men had planned, Bugs Moran was intrigued by the chance of cheaply obtaining crates of his liquor and couldn't resist its opportunity, so he decided on assembling 7 of his men, along with himself, in the garage of the SMC Cartridge Company.
You want to see me, boss?
Yeah, Pete. Why don't you take a seat right there?
Sure thing.
Now, my associates have informed me of a very special bust. That is, a guy has taken a hold of Capone's prime brew and is willing to sell it for real cheap.
Well, that's great, boss. We can steal some booze right under them Southside goons' noses, and they'd be none the wiser.
That's right, and it'll save us a lot of money in our bootlegging business, too.
Well, serves them right, boss. After what they did to O'Banion, Weiss, and Drucci, and other guys, they had it coming.
Right on the money, Pete. And that's why me and you and 6 more of our guys gonna meet up and get us that booze. Between bumping Lombardo a few months back, we're definitely gonna get the last laugh.
Yeah, we are. Hey, I'm gonna go tell Wineshack and the other guys, right, boss?
All right, scram.
Hey, Frank, you know what time it is? Bugs should have gotten here by now.
It's 10:30, right when the boss told us we should all be here.
Well, shucks. I mean, he should have been here by now. He would have usually been early, but I don't know. Maybe he's running late or something, I guess. But Bugs, you see them guys over there? Those 2 coppers were coming right our way.
Don't worry about them. They're just some coppers. They'll go away right when you throw them some clams.
All right, I'll wait for him to walk up.
Hey, alright, we don't want no trouble, guys, alright?
What kind of operation you fellas running here?
Listen, fellas, just here to conduct some business, okay? We don't need your bozos sticking your noses in business that ain't yours.
But hey, look, we'll just give you guys some dough and you guys can pretend like nothing ever happened.
Try to bribe a couple cops, eh? You know good crooks can't get out of this one.
We're gonna have to ask you boys and your fellas here to line up against that wall right here.
All right. We'll line up.
Alright, see, we ain't did nothing. You can't prove we did nothing.
Yeah. Alright, fellas. I believe it. But my Tommy gun don't.
Worn out faces.
And so, the deed was done. Although Bugs Moran had never showed up to the SMC Cartridge Company garage that day, 7 of his gang members, some of his closest men, were murdered, and nearly split in half by the mighty high-caliber rounds of the Thompson submachine gun. Moran's gang was in shambles, and Al Capone had left his bloody mark on Chicago that Valentine's Day. A Valentine's Day that shall never be forgotten.
What?